Fiberglass insulation. It's nasty stuff. I hate it, but it's got to be done.
Here we go.
Yeah, wow.
Well, hey everybody, Bill here with Live Simple, Live Free. I'm about to start insulating my addition here. I never imagined when I started, in April or May, I forget when I started, that I would be so late into the season getting this thing done. But you know, we've been traveling a lot, spent a couple weeks in Arizona, and I had some other projects to do. So here I am trying to get this done, and it's cold. Last night it was in the low 20s, and today the high was only about, I think, 34, which for our Celsius friends, that's only like a couple of degrees above zero. I'm sorry, above freezing, above your zero. And not only that, but the wind has been howling all day out there. It's really nasty out there with the wind chill. Fortunately, this is now enclosed, so I have the cold, but I don't have any of the wind. So it's actually kind of tolerable. So it's not too bad, but I just gotta get going on this. So I'm gonna start with the insulation in the ceiling. First thing I need to do is put in the insulation baffles. What happens is, this is a 2x6, so it's only 5.5 inches tall right here. But the insulation that I'm gonna put in is a foot tall, it's twice as tall. Gives me a lot of insulation. It's R38 insulation. And the roof system is designed with vents. There's soffit vents outside where the cool air comes in, and then up at the ridge, there's a vent along the ridge where the hot air goes out. So it's constantly heating up, venting out the top, drawing cool air in from the bottom. The problem is if you put the insulation in here and it's 12 inches tall and you push it up against the wall here, it's going to completely block this off. The insulation will be all the way up to the ceiling, to the bottom of the roof here, and no air will get through. So they make what they call insulation baffles. Looks like this. They come in various different styles and designs, but they all do the same thing. I just put that up there like that. Staple it in place with a hammer stapler. So now what happens is when I put the insulation up in here, I can push it in this way and fill this gap, but the baffle holds it away from the roof and gives about that much space where the cool air can get sucked in as it goes out, and it keeps the ventilation going. So I need to put one of these insulation baffles in every bay. So this is R38 insulation. It's 12.5 inches tall. It's going to give lots and lots of insulation properties up here. It's already pre-cut into short bats, and it's the width of the bay here. So I want to push it in here, make sure it goes back, you know, on top of the wall here so there's no gap. And then that's up against the baffle back there. Then I just staple it in place with the hammer stapler. Now I started with this bay instead of this one because this one is narrow and I'm going to have to rip the insulation, and I just quite frankly don't feel like messing with that now. So I'm going to run with it, get most of it done, and then I'll come back and do this narrow bay over here. Now when you're putting up the insulation, the paper is actually not just there to keep the fiberglass away from you. The paper is a vapor barrier. So when you install it, you always want to install it with the paper towards the heated area. So that means like this in the ceiling, and then in the wall you'll also see the paper. If you're going to do it down underneath the floor in a crawl space or a basement, you need to do it the other way with the bare fiberglass hanging down so that the paper goes up against the floor, up against the heated area. It's always really much nastier to do a basement because you're, instead of pushing it up like this, you're pushing it up on the bare fiberglass and it gets all over you. But then here's the ceiling joist, rafter, I guess, and this paper, there's a paper tab. It extends out past, so you want to make sure that they're overlapped like that, and then staple it together, one on top of the other, and that completes the vapor barrier. So here's the insulation that I'm using for the walls. This is R19 faced, which means it has the paper on it. It's 6 inches thick, so it fits right into the 2x6 wall, and it's 15 inches wide, so it fits right into the 16-inch on center. Now notice that this is one piece, 39 feet long, and it's possible to get the wall insulation in bats that are cut just the right length, like I did with the ceiling. So why did I buy this one piece that's 39 feet long and I'm going to have to cut it? Well, these walls are a little short. The standard nowadays is for an 8-foot ceiling, but this house was built in 1970, and back then they did actually ceilings that are only 7 feet 6 inches. So it's 6 inches short, about that much. And the pre-cut insulation for the walls is for an 8-foot wall. This is only 7.5 feet. So if I had bought those, I would have had to cut 6 inches off of the top of each one. I would have had to make the cuts anyway, and I would have been throwing away 6 inches off of each piece. So by buying this one that's 40 feet long, I can cut it to the exact length, since I have to cut it anyway, but I won't have any wasted insulation. So now I've got this 39-foot long roll of insulation that I need to cut into the right length. And cutting it can be surprisingly difficult. You got to cut through all this fiberglass insulation that puffs out as soon as you open it up. Then you have to cut through the paper, which is actually not just paper, it's really tough stuff. And right here, where this part folds out to staple onto the stud, It's folded back so it's double. Many times I cut across here and then I can't get through that double. So I've experimented over the years with many different ways to cut this. And here's what I've come up with. I'm going to lay it flat on the ground with the paper down. And then I've got to cut this 7 feet 3 right here. So with the paper down, I'm just going to hold it flat, smush it down against the floor, and cut right through it with the knife going all the way through to the plywood. It cuts through the insulation, and it presses the paper against the plywood, and it cuts very easily. For the this is R19. For the R38 that I was using on the roof, it's considerably higher. You have to push it, smash it down, but then you can still do the same thing. You just have to make like 2 or 3 cuts to get through the insulation before you get to the paper. So now I just got to cut a bunch of pieces like that for the walls. You know, it's really hard to get anything done in this edition when you keep traveling. I was hoping to get this installation done today. It's not going to happen. And in the morning, we are leaving for Maine for Thanksgiving. Now, by the time you see this video, Thanksgiving will be over, I'm sure. But at any rate, we're going to be up there for at least a week. So I'm going to have to put this off into even colder weather all the time. But I just keep working at it one step at a time, and it's going to get done. So here's what I was able to do today. I got this wall and this wall done. I got a good part of the ceiling done, but not all. There's one more bay here. And then over here, this wall still needs to do most of it. These little pieces that need to be trimmed a lot are very time consuming. And then I got a couple more up there in the ceiling to be done. So I'll have to do that again, work on that again after I get back from Thanksgiving, and then hopefully, so the next video will probably be finishing up the installation and then putting the heat in this room so that I can break everything through to the house. That'll be an exciting day when I get heat in here. So I hope you're watching the progress, or enjoying watching the progress, even though it's slow. Thanks for watching, everybody. Live simple, live free, you be blessed.